Hey everybody, this is Kara,
And this is Ed,
and this is Your Day's Dumpster Fire, where we don't celebrate humanity's successes.
but its most fantastic failures.
Yo,
Yo, what's going on?
not too much, not too much. Just trying to figure out what's going on with all these emus in Australia back in 1932.
Yeah, no, I honestly feel like they had it easy back then
The emus or the
because
military?
both because they've never actually tried recording a podcast.
That's true. Before we tell all these fine people about the emus, maybe we should also tell all these fine people about our struggles.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the idea is that in each episode, we will have some friendly fire where we get to explore your hosts because yeah, Kara and myself, we've had our fair share of absolute disasters in our lives. And I think probably one of the most complicated disasters or dumpster fires we've had is the simple act of just trying to record episode 1.
It's a learning process for sure.
Uh yeah. Yeah, no, it's a learning process to say the least because we've had we were downloading one piece of software, we were logging into another piece of software, we did some intros, we did some outros, we found some cool music, and then that didn't work, and another thing didn't work, and it almost got to the point where it's like, okay, do we pay somebody to do this? And thankfully between Kara and myself, we may not have to pay somebody else too much money.
Applause. Applause.
So yeah, I know you're going to be going into the whole emu thing, which is quite possibly one of the most epic battles in human history. But let me lead off with our day's friendly fire.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so when we think of a dumpster fire, I feel like we focus heavily on the notion that and you probably listened to our intro fire, tend to focus on humanity's ability to try to plan things out, try to make it so that we're going to execute X, Y, and Z in a way where it won't fail. It can't fail. Nothing can fail. Yet, just minutes afterwards, it completely blows up on our face. What I want to do, I want to inaugurate our first real episode, not point 0.5, but 1.0. Our first episode, I want to give you guys a legit real dumpster fire. And it's not going to go the way you think, but it like totally ends up the way that you would think. So, for those of you who know me, my father was quite an accomplished drinker, and it's something you need to understand, guys. Like when you have alcohol and barbecue, it doesn't go together.
You
It
think
it
it would?
yeah, yeah, I know. Like you'd be thinking that it would go together, but it's like it doesn't because it's kind of like alcohol and guns, or an alcohol and swimming, alcohol and boating, alcohol and driving, alcohol and just anything. Nothing is going to end up right. so my father, which is interesting because if you looked at my father and you look at me, you'd think that I'm adopted, and I'm really not. My father was this medium height guy, super scrawny, super spindly, he was a brilliant machinist, but then when he got that alcohol involved, some of the decisions he made was quite funny. So one night, he decided to get all, alcoholically hydrated, and he decided to grill some burgers for the wife and kids, which was fine
Yeah.
if if you're not some skinny little Boonhauer guy wearing leopard skin speedos and smoking a cigarette and drinking a martini and trying to grill at the same time.
Wait, why was he wearing leopard skin martinis? Why was he wearing leopard skin speedos while grilling? That sounds extremely dangerous.
Because that's what you do in the 80s.
God. Thank God I wasn't born yet. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, no. It's a legit concern. I don't blame anybody for having a really bad visual of a scrawny little dude wearing leopard skin speedos and barbecuing, smoking a cigarette, and drinking a martini and flipping burgers at the same time. Because apparently, my father had multiple different limbs that could multitask when he was drunk off his butt.
Wait, so
And
was your dad Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite?
yes,
Epic.
yes. My father was he encapsulated a lot of different cultures, right? You go to a Mexican wedding and you always have that drunken uncle in the background, right? That would grab you and then give you all sorts of life advice when you don't even know what he's saying, and all you could do is just nod your head and say see. Or he's your Uncle Hans or Franz from Germany, and the same thing happens. They pull you aside, and all you can do is just nod your head and roll with it, right?
Every family's drunk guy. It doesn't matter what culture you're in, every family has that guy.
Yes. I agree. I'm not trying to single out any sort of ethnicity or race, but it's true. Humanity seems to create families where you got that guy, you have that uncle, you have that person, that distant relative that you meet three times in your life, and each time completely trashed, and it's absolutely hilarious. And that, guys, I want you all to understand that I want my father to be that guy in your family, because this dude tried to grill hamburgers and completely trashed. One thing happened after another, and all we ate was these charcoal briquettes for hamburger patties. The cheese he put on top of it, again, completely carbonized. We
Ew.
might as well have been eating diamonds by the time he got done.
Yeah.
That's not the real dumpster fire. The real dumpster fire comes in the fact that when he was done destroying perfectly good barbecue, he decided to take the coals inside our charcoal grill. He took those coals, scooped them out with a garden trowel, and then threw them into our metal community dumpster in our alleyway. That's where the real dumpster fire began, because he scooped all that stuff out. He dumped it into the legit, typical vision of what a dumpster is in the backyard. He threw all these coals in there, and then we all went to bed. And then I remember waking up at around midnight, 1, 2 o'clock, or whatever. And I remember looking out my bedroom window, and I saw in an inferno. It was like Dante's inner circle of hell. The whole the whole window was just silhouetted with just flames everywhere.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, that's not supposed to be there.
No, that's not right. Like,
No,
that's a problem.
it's a slight problem. Yeah, and I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, my neighbor across the alleyway is on fire, or I'm just assuming that the worst has happened to somebody else who lives near me but doesn't affect me.
Wrong.
Totally wrong. I was 50 shades of wrong. I opened up my window and I looked outside and I saw the majestic silhouette of a scrawny little guy wearing leopard skin speedos. Obviously, it's a silhouette. You can't see those details, but you know,
Yeah.
as the son of this man, it's him. We had an above ground pool, and he was standing on top of that above ground pool as you do in the 80s. And he was standing on this above ground pool, swaying left and right, silhouetted majestically with these belching flames and burning trash bags and the works. He was standing up there, and all these firemen, right, their trucks had the cherries and berries flashing, and yeah, it was complete chaos while they're trying to put out this legit dumpster fire.
Amazing.
It was an authentic, real, true dumpster fire. And my dad was standing on this pool, swaying back and forth, and he's like, "Who, who is the idiot who dumped all these coals into the fire?"
Just like that?
I remember it. I remember it so distinctly, and I remember the fireman just looking at my dad like, "You idiot! We know it was you. We know it was you who burned down like a fence and a trash can, and Lord only knows how many chemicals he released into the air." And he
God.
stood up there for hours just yelling off the top of his lungs that he had no idea who the idiot was who dumped the hot coals into the dumpster.
So if there are any firemen out there and you have a story like this, I would love to hear your dumpster fire stories anytime, please. Especially if it involves leopard skin speedos. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear it.
Yes. I'm totally down for it. It's not a crowning moment of intelligence in my family's history, but then again, though, this whole podcast is solely dedicated to our celebration, our respect, our homage, and our appreciation for those of everybody out there, past, present, and future, who have failed royally. Count my
And
dad is one of them because we need to jump into 1930s Australia and look at how a bunch of machine guns and a couple of guys and a bunch of bullets does not equal success.
and with that, everybody, I give you the Emu Wars. All right. Here we go. Okay, so the year is 1932, and we have a bunch of angry farmers who used to be World War One veterans. Actually, they're still World War One veterans. My apologies. Who are now farmers in Eastern Australia, and they are having a big problem. So, in 1932, what's going on in the world? The Great Depression is happening in the US, which has worldwide global effects on every other country due to globalized trade. So with
I feel like that's still going on.
yes, it does feel like that 100%.
Yes.
It hurts my head. I don't like to think about that. I want to talk about emus. That
Emus,
just
I hear they're really good for Thanksgiving.
it's just so depressing. Anyway, back to the emus, which is slowly becoming my favorite animal, by the way. So they were all given land on the eastern part of Australia by the Australian government. And little did the Australian government know, even though I believe they should have known, that is exactly where the emus migrate from the west to find food and for the weather. So,
Wait. So Australia is kind of big. Like it's like 13, 14 miles wide, right?
yeah, it's huge. 13 miles wide, massive. I sound really dumb saying that.
So
Sarcasm, everybody. I hope you got that.
yeah, I apologize. I literally have no idea what I'm talking about. So when we're looking at emus, I thought the whole emu thing was like in the southwest part of Australia. Was this real? Did did I not read Wikipedia right? It's on the southeast.
I have to be honest, I got it wrong, and it is on the west, and I suck at everybody. I suck so bad. It's on the west. I had it backwards. So what they do is they migrate from the east to the west when they're migrating for the weather and for breeding and such. Sorry.
So even if it's from the west to the east or the east to the west,
Sorry.
that's a big transit. Like,
Yeah, it's a ways.
yeah, that's a ways. So what were they doing? Were they like maliciously attacking and like hijacking little children and holding them captive and for ransom for in exchange for corn or whatever? Like, what was the problem with these things? Like,
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So the problem was because of the Great Depression going on, all these farmers were basically working off of subsidies, and they were paying the government back in wheat, and like what they purchased or what they earned from the wheat that they grew, they would give part of it back to the government, to kind of help each other out. Well, with that going on, and then the emus coming in, the emus would come in and eat all of their crops. So not only do they owe the government like extra, emus are eating all of their extra. So it kind of puts them in a bind because, like, hey, that's all of my income plus what I owe the government, and you're eating all of it. And then on top of that, emus are.
what was this? Sorry, were these emus at this time considered the national bird for Australia?
Yes, and in fact, they're on their coat of arms. If you ever look at the Australian coat of arms, there's an emu on it with a kangaroo. Fun fact: you should totally look at it. It's amazing. And yes, they are technically the national bird of Australia, and they are also seen as pests.
So it'd be like America saying our
Cockroach.
national bird is going to be the ostrich or the cockroach or the cicada.
Yeah, pretty much.
Love it.
Yep, it's awesome. Awesome. So fun facts about the emu is they grow up to be 6 feet tall and they can sprint up to 30 miles an hour. So they're actually pretty fast for an animal. They are the second largest bird behind the ostrich, and they lay green eggs. I don't know why I wanted to add that, but I did because I thought it was cool.
Wait. So they lay green eggs. Is that what was the one fact that you presented a while back? Like, is that possums that have like square poop or something? Or
Oh yeah, I think it is possum. Some sort of rodent. They poop squares.
yeah. You know what? Hey, you do you.
Yeah.
If you want to poop out Rubik's cubes, I got
Go
it.
for it. Exactly.
I appreciate it.
We're all about the animal kingdom here. All right, so on that note, emus, they're big, they're fast, they're pretty intense actually. They're pretty hardy animals. They have no problem breaking down these fences and barriers that the farmers were trying to put up. And the even bigger problem with that is not only do they eat all of the crops that they find there after they break down the fences and the barriers, then after they're done devastating the area, bunnies and rabbits come in and just finish the job and cause further problems after that. So it was just a big, huge mess. The official count, according to the Australian government, there were about 20,000 emus in the area, and they were wreaking havoc on these poor farmers' crops. And being ex-military, they did not go to the Minister of Agriculture. They went directly towards the Minister of Defense, Sir George Pierce. He also served in World War One. He
A huge
does.
machine gun fanatic.
Yep, he loves his machine guns. He loves his soldiers. He's all about that.
That trench warfare against a bunch of 6 foot tall fuzzy birds.
Correct, and that's the man that they went to.
Now are emus indigenous to Australia, or was this because we know that white men were not indigenous to Australia? White men were dropped there via Europeans, mess up things on their own accord. Were emus brought along for the joyride, or have they always been there?
I believe they're indigenous to the area. They did come from like the New Guinea area, and then they crossed over at
Okay.
some point, from what I understand.
So what
But
you're
yes,
saying is that human beings figured out a way to take an indigenous bird and turned it into a pest that would ruin the countryside and the farms.
yes,
Perfect. All
all
right.
because they needed to pay their bills. All because the stock market crashed in 1927. Pardon my 29.
October of 2029.
I promise I have a degree in this stuff. Promise.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what Photoshop is for. We can make
1929. All right, we love Google.
any degree look good in Photoshop.
All right. So that's what the problem was. The farmers went to the Minister of Defense, Sir George Pierce, and they're like, do something about this now, because this is a problem. And then George Pierce came back and he's like, okay, here's the deal. We'll come for you and we'll help you out. But we have some conditions. Any guns used in this little expedition here, only the military is allowed to use them. Second, troop transport is going to be funded by the government, as it should be. And then third, the farmers are going to provide food, accommodations, and payment for ammunition. So basically, the farmers are going to fund all of it except for troop transport and like the guns themselves.
So how many soldiers were we talking about? Are we talking like battalions, divisions? How many people were involved in this grand declaration of war against a fuzzy bird?
Yeah, for sure. So the military was sent in October 1932, and it was under the command of Major G.P.W. Meredith and his 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery, with Meredith commanding soldiers and a couple other dudes. So basically, it was an entire like battery section with 10,000 rounds of ammunition.
So we're talking about a bunch of dudes who are like highly trained soldiers from World War One, capable of dispensing incredible destruction. They were assigned to go duck hunting.
Yes.
Perfect. That's great. Humanity. Carry
Yes.
on.
So they came in with Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition in the first wave. They also came in with a movie maker from Fox Movietone to provide, what's the word I'm looking for?
Content.
Everybody, content, propaganda, military propaganda
Like
for the
purpose
Australian
for like
government.
actual video recordings of their existence and why this is a good decision.
Yes. Basically, they wanted to show off the Australian military and how awesome they were, which really blew back in their face.
So basically, it's how America's mainstream news media works today.
Kinda. And also, fun fact, you can find some of these videos that they filmed of the Emu War online. I will put a link in the show notes for you all if you want to watch it.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, it's
that
kind of
sounds
neat.
intense.
Kind of neato. And then on top of that, there were also people writing in newspapers, and it got to the point where there were people writing into the newspapers trying to provide military strategies and advice.
Nothing like contracting a tactician to figure out how to shoot a bird with a machine gun.
Yeah, that's how bad it got.
This is such an American way of approaching things. It's amazing. Yeah. Go Australia.
Go Australia. So the first attempt was in October, as I said, and it was foiled by the rain. So what happened was all these guys went out there. They found like a few small groups of emus, and they were about to shoot them, and then it started raining, and then the emus scattered and ran away. So only about 100 were shot, like 1,000, I think it was, 1 or 2,000, a group of 1 or 2,000. So they had to stop shooting and wait for the rain and all this fun stuff. So even the very first wave of dudes who went in were like, they only shot 100 birds.
So basically what you're saying is that the emu's main strategy during all of this was to run away.
Yes.
Okay. You know
Yep.
what? If I have a bunch of dudes shooting machine guns at me, you'd be amazed at how fast a fat guy can run from bullets.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of there. The only thing that would make me run faster is if I see a donut rolling by. I'm getting that donut before I get shot.
And then there's a newspaper headline from October 18th, 1932. And the headline is, "A rain scatters emus. Machine gun party does not leave." So it's like super serious. Owing to timely rainfall and Campions, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, in the Campions district, the thousands of emus which have been worrying settlers have scattered over a much wider area. So, like, for them, this was a big deal. These dudes with machine guns couldn't shoot the birds because now they're out of range because of rain. All right.
That's awesome.
So great. So then, after that, they resorted to guerrilla warfare.
Wait. So we're talking about emus in trees with firearms, like sniping Australian soldiers from a distance?
I 100% wish it was more like a bunch of dudes hiding and sneaking around behind trees and bushes, looking into a valley of emu.
So it was the other way around. It was the Australians were like, "I'm going to get you.
Yes.
I'm gonna hunt you down. And I'm going to teach you a lesson to never eat our wheat ever again."
Yes.
Perfect.
Remember, it solves all the problems. Put a bullet in it.
Yes. Oh, jeez. Given light of recent events, I would say let's not put bullets in it.
I agree. That was a joke. It was a
Yes.
bad taste. I'm sorry. Bad
Yeah,
taste.
let's send delegates out. Let's send lawyers out. Let's send people out. And
Yes,
yeah.
I'm all
And-
about not doing that. I
Yes.
want, yep. Psychology and education and science for the win. That's what I'm about. Anyway,
Yes.
so the next battle, at the Battle of Campion, 50 emu were spotted, and the emu were out of range for the machine gun fire, so they tried to rush in there and sneak up on them, but the emu were too fast, and they only shot like 10 of them. So then they were frustrated, and then they left again. And then there was another battle. They call it the Battle at the Dam.
It sounds like it honestly sounds like it was not the battle at the dam, but it was that dam battle.
It could go either way. It could go either way.
It's applicable. Either way, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's fine. So this time, instead of being out of range and trying to shoot the emu from afar, they tried to sneak up on them and get kind of close. And they shot fewer than a dozen emu, and then all their guns jammed after the first few volleys of gunfire. More than 1,000 emus were there, and they only shot maybe like 12 top. So by the time they reloaded their guns after they jammed, all the birds were gone.
That would be because the nature of the Lewis gun. So, nerd fact for those of you out there who don't care, a Lewis gun is a machine gun that has obviously it looks like a normal machine gun, and it has like a 6-inch diameter can that goes around the barrel. And that can is filled with water, and that water is supposed to dissipate the heat from the rapid fire of the machine gun. The issue is that if you don't have water in there all the time and you're not cycling that water out all the time, your machine gun will overheat, the barrel expands, it crimps the bullet, and everything just seizes up because emus knew that before the Australians even got involved.
Oh yeah, they had their own strategy. They know what's going on. This is why I love these birds.
They're great.
So while all this was going on back home in government, Mr. Senator Guthrie asked the Minister of Defense whether it was possible to kill the emus by a more humane, if less spectacular method. You know, he's like, do we have to go out and shoot them with with machine guns? Is that something we have to do?
Can you imagine if this is going down today in America, where a bunch of farmers or ex-military farmers are like, we need to shoot them bald eagles. They're
God.
eating all our rodents. we're gonna grab a bunch of machine guns and we're gonna take out them bald eagles. That is literally the same thing as what is being proposed here in Australia in the 1930s.
Correct.
That's epic.
And I hate
I
it.
love it. I love it.
So
Episode number
continuing
1
on.
is bringing the content here.
Oh yeah. We love the emus. After that, in that article, it says Sir George Pierce replied that those who were not familiar with country in which emus were numerous could not realize the damage that the birds could do.
Okay.
So, in other words, yes, we need the machine guns.
I'm surprised they didn't bring in a howitzer or a mortar at least. Like,
I know.
yeah.
And that particular article is from November 19th, 1932. You can find it online. It is actually, these are so fun to read. If anybody wants to read these are so fun to read. I'll put some links in there. All right. So a couple more quotes just to kind of give you guys an idea of where the mindset is right now, fighting all these birds. If we had a military division with a bullet carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. That was Major Meredith, the general who's running the show down there on foot. He's basically losing all hope because the birds just won't die.
Yeah, didn't I read somewhere like each one of these emus could take like 20 to 30 bullets before they die?
Yeah, so because they're so fast and because they're so like thick and hardy, there were times where they would just shoot the birds and they would get hit a few times and they would still just run off and they'd be fine. They go and populate somewhere else. Like it was mayhem.
Okay, anybody who can take 20 to 30 bullets and still reproduce, that's a superior species right there.
That's what I'm saying. That's why they're so awesome. I love these birds.
They figured it
just-
out. They worked
yeah.
through it.
They're looking at these machine guns in the eyes and they're like, not today, sir. Not today.
Not today. I've got 19 bullets in me. I'm bleeding out everywhere, but I guarantee you I will fertilize like 25 eggs before the end of the day.
Exactly.
You know, I respect that.
At some point, General Meredith decided to split his army up as if he were on an actual battlefield to try and circumvent, these smaller groups of emu. That didn't work because they just run off. So he really did try everything in the book and it didn't work. And the press was going ham. The local media was going ham. They're like, the military sucks. They can't even kill these birds. And then after that, they finally put it to rest. After a little bit, they said, okay, we can't do this anymore. You're done. And there was a second attempt, not even a couple months later, if I remember correctly, where the farmers were putting up such a complaint, an angry letter. They wrote angry letters. That's what they do.
Good. As you do.
As you do. That's how we start things. We write angry letters. The emus continued to attack crops. Farmers were asking for help, so they sent them back, and they killed about 300 out of the 20,000. And it got to the point where they're like, you wasted 10,000 rounds, and you only killed maybe 1,000 emu. So it's about 10 rounds per confirmed kill by the end of everything.
Jeez.
So yeah, if you do the math, it took about 10 bullets to kill one emu.
My gosh.
It was such an epic military fail that was originally meant for some awesome propaganda, and they were like, it's good target practice for soldiers. We might get some hats out of it.
Some swag. Some emu death swag. Maybe like a silver star or golden cross for a valiant effort in killing emus.
Exactly. After they finally managed to kill at least 1,000, on December 10th, 1932, they finally declared the emu war to be over. In order to fix things for the farmers, the Australian government instead put a bounty on the emus and provided the farmers for free ammunition. So basically, they were like, here's some ammo, just shoot them if they're on your property. That's the best we can do. And it worked. That plan, which seems to be the most logical solution, instead of sending in the entire freaking military, worked. And they still do it to this day. They don't have a bounty on them anymore, but you are allowed to shoot the birds if they're on your property. That is
Okay.
still a rule now.
So people can still like okay, so even to this day, people can still shoot emus on their property.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
So
it is back to being a protected species, but there's a loophole in there where if the emu is caught on private property or farmland, they can be shot without getting in trouble.
see, here I am, the history nutcase in me is going back to Benjamin Franklin, the founding fathers days where he's like the national bird should be the turkey. And when I look back at it, it kind of makes sense. What bird do we celebrate the most out of any year? It's the freaking turkey.
That's
Granted,
true.
we're eating that turkey, but like that's essentially what was decided. From my take on it, it was essentially decided that like, hey, if this fuzzy bird, and yes, they are fuzzy. If you freaking look at a picture of a emu, they are fuzzy birds, and I kind of want one in my backyard because
Mm-hmm.
I mean I have an Amazon and I have a crimson belly conure for my daughter. I kind of want one of these emus, but it's just like they can run around until they land in your property, and then you could blast the national bird with whatever ammunition you have lying around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I can go with that. Yeah.
Oh, so by the end of all this madness, they finally found a solution, which they should have done in the first place. And they did also promise like an emu barrier, which actually never came to fruition, which is just a fail in its own right. And my favorite quote ever from this entire ordeal is from a man in Parliament named A.E. Green, and he suggested that the emu get war medals for doing so well. And I'm going to end my short, small rant with that quote because it is my all-time favorite.
So well, I mean, obviously Australia is still around. I'm fairly certain we have a couple of listeners in Australia. So ultimately, how did they circumvent this problem? Because I feel like if they just built some fences, that would have fixed it.
Well, the problem was they did build fences, and the emu were so big and strong that they just went over them or destroyed them or went through them. They found a way. That was the problem. Because they're 6 feet tall. I mean, they're
Okay.
huge. They're massive.
But then why is Australia still a continent or a country or a continent country or whatever it is in the textbooks? Like, how did they not get overrun by emus and have like a government coup and we're not all bound down to the emu overlords?
Well, thankfully for all of us here, the emus aren't very smart. And they just want to eat. So eventually they learn to just run away if you shoot the gun, and that seems to work.
It it kind of reminds me of at ASU, because we're a bunch of Arizonans here. I know, like in the industrial tech section, they have a bunch of speakers put up that make it sound like hawks, yeah, like every couple minutes, and the speakers are designed to freak out pigeons and doves and other dumb birds in the area that poop everywhere. And it's just so fitting because obviously we didn't use machine guns to get rid of the birds. We put speakers all over the place to try to freak out the birds. And then the speakers gave out because they got covered so much in dove and pigeon poop that the audio coming out of the speakers didn't work anymore.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so literally, like, we still have pigeons and doves and all that stuff flying around Arizona State University, pooping on these speakers, muffling them so more birds can come in and poop everywhere.
So, moral of the story, we need to learn how to live with the birds, not
I
go
feel
to
like
war
Alfred
with them.
I feel like Alfred Hitchcock could like really teach us a thing or two about living with the birds.
Yes, I agree. Actually, if everybody wants to watch that movie, Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds, it's fantastic from the 60s. Go watch it. Alfred
Fun fact.
Hitchcock is also a crazy man.
Well, a fun fact about that that whole birds movie from Alfred Hitchcock, it was filmed in Bodega Bay in Northern California, just south of the redwoods, and that is where my mother-in-law grew up.
Oh, that's
And
an
so
interesting place to grow up.
yeah, so whenever my wife's mother comes and visits us, she'll come over, and of course, like I was saying before, my daughter has this crimson belly conure who um she's so stupid. Not my daughter, the bird. Well, I mean, at times it's interchangeable, but what I mean though is this bird, like, you don't have to have a bowl full of candy and a creepy van for her to get in. She just flies in. And so, yeah, my mother-in-law, whenever she visits us, she has this crimson belly conure that lands on her every time because, you know, Bodega Bay. And yeah, it's like an old soul living in our little pet parrot that is trying to bring out Alfred Hitchcock's birds.
Amazing.
Oh yeah. No, it's scientifically proven. It's legit. So I guess then the answer to the question is that I mean, what did the farmers do? What did they like? How did they defeat these birds, or was it just a matter of just building a taller fence?
It was a matter of them doing it on their own and over the long, long years starting to control the population. The population started to wane and get more manageable over the years. So it was like a slow progress of progress.
Gotcha. So it's almost like, hey, biologists and ecologists, how would you approach this? Well, it's quite simple. You put things in place that slows down the reproduction over the course of decades. Well, can't machine guns do the same thing? No, no,
Apparently not.
it can't, and it would be way cheaper to just approach it from the long term perspective.
Exactly. Remember, life finds a way,
Yes,
even
yes,
around
Professor Malcolm.
machine guns.
Even if we resurrect you from dinosaur DNA from the butt of a mosquito in amber,
I mean, technically, they are dinosaurs. So,
yes.
yep.
Actually, yeah, I think all birds are descendant of dinosaurs. Which,
Yes.
you know what? If I was a T Rex or a megalodon or a neopleurodon or whatever, if I saw that my future descendants ended up as a crimson-bellied conure that is flying into random people's vans without candy, I would be a little pissed at what happened.
To evolution.
Yeah.
Hey,
You've seen those memes, right? You've seen those memes where you see like like this huge, bulking, huge caveman, and next to him is this like super stoic wolf, and it's like man's best friend. And then fast forward 10, 20,000 years, there's like this little like Pomeranian wearing a little like, party cone hat thing saying like, "I'm too tired. Can you please put me in my chair?"
that's fair. That's fair. I get it. I gotcha. I get you. I get
Well, it
it.
helps that you have real dogs. Like, I don't
I
have real
do.
dogs.
It's true.
I have deformed hamsters that just pee and poo everywhere.
They're cute. Everybody,
Ow.
he has two little Shih Tzu Yorkie mix things. They're adorable.
Well, I have what is an Affen pincher. This is according to my mom, who claimed that she knows everything about dogs. we when we adopted, my mom had a teacup Yorkie. He was about 38 to 40 years old. He passed away. He had a good 4 decades. And so we thought we found in this pound a dog that resembled a teacup Yorkie. No. No, this thing, like, when we look at pictures of my mom's original dog versus this new one that we have, they look nothing alike. It's like the total Mandela effect at its core. And this dog is the dumbest thing I have ever seen in my life. I watched this dog lick a charcoal starter, right? You pull a whole bunch of charcoal briquettes in it, throw some paper underneath it, you take a match to it, you light it on fire, and then the whole thing, the whole charcoal starter gets red hot. And I watched this dog just sit there and lick that thing while it was red hot. And you can hear his tongue sizzling like bacon every time.
Ow, I don't like that.
He was fine.
At
Perfectly fine.
least he was okay.
Yeah, no, he was perfectly fine. He just walked away from it like, wow, that was a little warm, so I'm gonna go drink some water, and peed in the corner of the living room and just went to bed. Like,
Jesus.
I feel like I feel like I have my own emu wars going in my house.
I believe it.
It's bad.
I believe it. Well, on that note, why don't you tell us what we're talking about next week, and then we'll say goodbye to our lovely people here.
Okay. So, you and I have spent like the past 2 weeks just trying to get the software to work to record this episode.
Yes, and that is why there is a lack of
Yeah.
in-depth research. I apologize. The next one will be better, but this one was fun.
Oh, no, it's fine
It was
because
fun.
we've had like 2 weeks to edit this thing. I mean, it will be like like an Emmy award-winning podcast here.
Sick.
Because yeah, we've had so much time, and you had to go up to Vegas. Apparently,
I did.
like you and your husband wanted to celebrate your anniversary or some crazy thing, and
How
ate a
dare
bunch of
we?
food. And yeah, I know it. Clearly, you don't have your priorities straight.
No.
But yeah, so during all of this, trying to just get something to work. It's been a hot minute. My goal was to have like 10 episodes recorded. The whole goal was to just be like, boom, here we are, 1 week. My wife and kids were in California for the 4th of July. I had the whole house to myself. I would try to record a bunch of stuff. Instead, I looked at my bed. It was comfortable. I slept through most of it. So yeah, here we are. We're still trying to figure stuff out. So during all of this time, I'm probably going to switch gears. I want to switch gears into a dumpster fire and I really don't want to detract from the emus. The emus put up an honorable, good fight.
I did.
They did.
Let's hear it for the emus.
Yes. You have gone from Little Miss Paper Rolls to Khaleesi of the emus.
Yes.
And for those of you out there who have no idea who Little Miss Paper Rolls is, stay tuned. There's an episode about transportation.
We'll chat about that.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like a 37-parter.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be huge.
How do you get paper rolls out of the Pacific Northwest?
We're hoping to have a guest come on, one of our good friends. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, he runs the Pacific Northwest. Like he oversees all the inbound and outbound of trucks and toilet paper. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, stay tuned. We've got a great host coming up. But what I want to focus on is something maybe, and I don't want to detract from you, Kara, but maybe something a little bit higher stakes. Like maybe Britain and France's first like serious campaign in World War One.
Let's go. Let's stick with the World War One theme. I like it.
Yeah, no, because like the Emu War is actually like the Lewis guns and all that stuff kind of like came from World War One, and it's a great lead off, especially with the Lewis guns and everything. But what I want to look at is you take someone super famous, you take someone who is one of the most iconic leaders of the 20th century, Winston Churchill. And we look at this guy and we kind of immortalized him. We never look at how this guy failed royally. And I mean, no pun intended, because he was the first. He was the first Lord of the Navy, so to the Royal Crown. So technically, he really did fail royally. But Winston Churchill thought that he had a great plan in World War One that would knock out the Ottoman Empire. It would knock out Constantinople. He would be able to create a direct line from Russia to the Allies in, well, World War One. And he implemented this amazing plan, this plan that could not fail, that a huge chunk of the British Royal Navy, keep in mind, 1814-15, England still ruled the world in terms of the Navy. And he thought it would be a really good idea to send in like 15, 20 ships through this tiny little strait to knock out the Ottoman Empire. And in one day, he sunk half the fleet. And it literally, it was like World War One's first major dumpster fire. And yeah, we're going to look at what in the world happened there. What in the world happened with the army invasion of the peninsula surrounding the Dardanelles? Like, it was honestly a hot, hot mess. And so that's what we're going to look into on our next episode of the day's dumpster fire.
We'll see you next time.
Alrighty, guys. You take it easy and, keep it a flaming hot mess.
Bye.